Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're doing well. Can you guys hear me okay? I just feel like it's been a little while since I've jumped on live and got like a lot of things happening, the whiteboard, the mics, the sound and everything. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Easter for those celebrating as well. Easter long weekend. And Saudi Arabia, of course, one of the best pole laps to have never been completed. Max Verstappen's in 2021. Who remembers that one? Just stacked it out of the last corner. Pressure got him. Speaking of pressure, Lando Norris under pressure this weekend. There are a lot of things that we need to get to and a lot of threads which we need to pull. Of course, guys, I've got the chat next to me as well. You guys are smashing it. Kayla, loud and clear. I'll bring it up as a quick check. Please come up. There it is. Bang. All right, sweet. We're all good. Yeah, bit of housekeeping. Please give the video a thumbs up, of course. And I will, of course, give priority to those members and those super chats as I have to. But if you do have a question, stick it in the chat. If it's good enough, it will catch my eye. This one seems to be good enough. Let's kick off with this one. I don't normally take questions up front, but I think we're going to be a quick live stream today because not too many technical corners. And I don't think heaps is going to change from the next one, but I am going to give you guys a bit of an insight into how to drive this track, who's going to go well, and why I think Max might not be too bad here. Why he's going to struggle in Miami as well. So we'll get on to that. So just quickly, Martin, Martin, can you elaborate on PW's definition and what he said in his recent live stream where I asked him about the contrast to Rob Wilson? Oh yeah, I think I heard that. And he said, what did he say? I don't want to misquote, but I think he said something like, Rob and I have always been on the same page, and whenever Rob's explained it to me, I've understood what it is, and if you don't understand, then that's my fault for not explaining and all sorts of stuff. Well, what's your question? Because I want to, how much can I say? Martin, can you elaborate on his definition and what he said? I mean, I can't speak for him. I can't elaborate on his definition. I can only tell you my understanding from what he says, which is what his take on a short corner is, versus my understanding of what Rob says. And Rob it's pretty much V'ing, condensing the rotation point down to a small point, V'ing the corner off, faster in, faster out, small rotation point. But you can only do that in long corners, firstly, and it's a massively overrated skill because he teaches that in a car without downforce. These cars have downforce, massive amounts of downforce, even massiver than massive amounts of downforce, such is the end of the 2025, this set of regulations. So the last thing you want is to drop the speed out of the car, lose the downforce that comes with that speed, and then what, try to accelerate from a lower minimum speed? It's not going to work well for you. So it's a massively overrated concept in Formula One. Yeah, try it in, I don't know, Porsche Super Cup, GT3, whatevers. I think it's an overrated concept. Secondly, you can't do it in every single corner. He'll talk about short corners like it's the holy grail of lower lap time. It's not. Like there's only a few places where you could do a short corner. We have two on this track and I'll show them to you as we go. But yeah, you guys have just got to bring the critical thinking piece with what he says, right? Does it make sense? Does it stack up? Does it always hold true? And what happens at the extremities of the boundaries of what's going on? So good question. Robbie's a member. Hey all. Another quick one. Do you think Lando can get on top? Yeah, we'll talk to this in a second. All right, I'll get on to this. Someone else is from Perth. Hey Dave, how you doing? Danny, Rick. Okay, cool. Love your analysis. Thank you so much. All right, let's just quickly kick off with the weather as I always do. Hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. This will be the weather for Jeddah, Saudi Arabia this weekend, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. 31, 32, 33. And look at the minimums, guys. 28, 28, 27. So it's going to be 27 overnight and getting to 33 during the day. Like there's not much going on. So we're in heat. And why is this important? Well, remember the McLaren in the early sessions in Bahrain. Remember not FP2 because that was in the evening, and not qualifying because that was in the evening as well. Remember the FP1 and the FP3 sessions? The McLaren was a weapon. It's using its front tires so much better than all of the other cars That's my key call out. I mean, you'd be silly to back against anything other than the MC or papaya colored team this weekend. So I just wanted to add that not only is it like a high downforce, fast track, and I'll bring up the track map in a minute and we'll run through it, but now you've got the heat. McLaren loves the heat. Mercedes don't necessarily love the heat either. So that's just like another nail in the coffin for all of the other teams this weekend, unfortunately. I'd be surprised to see anything other than a McLaren 1-2 personally. All right. One of my favorite sections, guys, is coming up now, and it is the driver's mentality and who needs to do what. Let's get cracking on this. I want to take a few shots at a few of the drivers as well and just let you know what I'm thinking. Let's talk about Max at the moment. So personally, I think Max has done a near perfect job with what he's had. He kicked it off really well in Melbourne in the wet. He did amazing in Suzuka, of course. And here's where I'm going to highlight to you some of the issues. That car, I feel like, is not too bad in the really high speed, high downforce condition, or in the wet in the hands of Max Verstappen. What that means, therefore, is it's not great in the low speed. The mechanical grip of the car is terrible. When the downforce is less significant, then I think that's when that car struggles. Just a quick refresher on how downforce works, right? Hopefully you can see the whiteboard in front of you. This will be speed versus downforce. This is downforce and this is speed. Now at 0 kilometers per hour, downforce is also 0. At a certain speed, downforce begins to kick off, and then all of the downforce happens in the top end. So when you're operating the Red Bull in this area, you're good. I feel like when you're operating the Red Bull in this area, though, you're going to get smacked. And I think we're going to see that a little bit later on in this championship. Probably Miami will be the first one where I think we'll see it. So when the Red Bull operates in the high speed, high downforce condition, as we have here with all of these, you know, the first sector, all this fast stuff and all this stuff, like I think the Red Bull will be fine. I'm not expecting like poles and wins or anything, but back in the top 5 at least for Max more comfortably. But Miami is where I think a lot of the dramas are going to happen. So nothing to do with Max's mentality at this point. I just want to pre-inject this idea into you guys that come Miami, it's going to be dramas for Max. All right, McLaren, let's just quickly touch on Lando Norris and what he needs to do. So it is 2-1 in wins. Oscar Piastri won in China, and he won last weekend as well. And then we had Lando obviously get it done in Australia. Lando is down 2-1 therefore. And in qualifying, it's 2-2 at this point. Remember, Max got the win in Suzuka. So that's where the 2-1, that's where that outlier is. So Lando's under a lot of pressure. I've been saying for a while he's under pressure. He's under pressure from 2 angles. Under pressure from Max coming out in the media saying, oh, if I was in that McLaren, you guys wouldn't have seen me all weekend. And then he's under pressure on the other side from Oscar Jack Piastri as well, who's starting to be there a lot more consistently. Last year, Oscar was sometimes here, sometimes there. But now he's like every weekend, he's just there. I've got a feeling that it's got nothing to do with mentality at this early stage. It's just that the McLaren suits Oscar a lot more with the front end. Lando keeps coming out saying, I like a front end. I like a pointy car, but he's got one. So it doesn't stack, right? So I think that just the way this McLaren is with its very sharp front end, I just feel like it suits Oscar better, and he's just able to compete a lot more with Lando. And then now that he's there, they're right up against each other. Now it's a mentality race for Lando. Like, damn, now I've got Oscar and Max to worry about. That being said, Lando needs to strike back this weekend. If he goes down 3-1 in the wins and Oscar wins this one, and he goes down 3-2 in qualifying, like it's just going to be a snowball from there. It's going to be more self-doubt, more I can't deal with the car, more dramas. It's going to be a spiral from there. He needs to level this weekend to keep in touch with Oscar in the championship. Now you're going to hear all this stuff coming out, people saying like, Oscar's the favorite now and blah, blah, blah. Hey, have a look at the World Championship results. Lando's still World Championship leader. He hasn't finished off the podium at all this year. So you've got to give him some respect for that. Now, if trend plays out towards the end of this year, Oscar starts to get on top of him, I'm sure there's going to be the mental whatever. He needs to just put all that aside. I'm leading the championship, all good. Yeah, I had a few scrappy weekends, whatever. I wasn't as quick as Oscar, blah, blah, blah. Just crack on in this weekend and like 0-0 at this point, 0-0. Crack on. Now, I heard few reels and a few TikToks from Lando where he was saying like, and this is going deeper now into Lando's self-belief, self-doubts, gremlins, lack thereof, and so on. I heard a few TikToks and a few reels where Lando was saying his fear and his worry is, what happens if I don't do well? I'm not good at anything else. I can't paint. I can't snowboard. I can't swim. Like I'm not an engineer, not a doctor, not like there's nothing else I can do. If Formula One fails for me, like there's nothing else I can do. And I think that is where the self-doubt and self-fear, and he's looking down. You know, when you're on top of a skyscraper or like walking a tightrope, don't look down is what they say. Don't look down, look straight, look up, like go forward. And he's looking down at like, what if? Let me give you guys an insight into how that feels just before kicking off this live stream. I'm the same. What if the internet doesn't work? What if the chat doesn't work? What if my whiteboard doesn't work? What if I see it? What if someone posts a super chat and I don't see it? Like, what if? Okay, I get it. I understand. I can empathize with that mentality. But at the same time, that's not a mentality that's going to serve you. What if I don't see a super chat? Okay, I'm going to make sure that it's there in front of me so that I do my best to see it. What if the whiteboard doesn't work? Well, I'm going to do a test beforehand to make sure that it works. Like internet, I'm going to check, you know, everything has to be so that then I can go into live stream and say, you know what, I've done my best. Hopefully everything works. If it doesn't, okay, well, I did my best, but like, hopefully it does. And it's that, like, don't look down, because that mentality is not going to serve you. If you look, like, you're going to go where your eyes are looking. If you look up and chase the points and chase the wins, then you're more likely to go in that direction. I don't know if any of you guys have snowboarded before or skied before, but you don't, like, you look where you want to go in that sport. It's the same in driving actually as well. You look at the corner where you want to go and your hands follow your eyes. So Lando needs to not look down, just crack on. I think that's what he needs to do. At least anyway, these are some of the TikToks and some of the reels that I've been hearing where Lando's like, what if it doesn't work? Yeah, what if? Like, you're going to have to move on and try to, it's not a mentality that's going to serve you, Lando. So you got to crack on. Quick word on Ferrari. What do they need to do? I don't think Leclerc needs to do heaps. I think he's done a pretty good job thus far this season. A lot of people have been saying, yeah, Leclerc, he's smashing Hamilton, blah, blah, blah. I refer you back to China sprint race. When a win was on the table, who was the driver that took it? It was Lewis Hamilton. I'm not trying to say that Lewis is better or whatever. It's just that you can't judge when one finishes 5 and the other one finishes 9, one finishes 6, the other one finishes 10, one finishes 12, the other one 15. Like, that's not here nor there for me. Like, if Leclerc gets P4 and Hamilton gets P9, who cares? Do you know what I mean? It's what happens when a win is on the table. Is that going to be Leclerc or Lewis? At the moment, I'm reserving judgment for that because the car's not ready for it. I just think Leclerc's been doing a great job so far. But when a win is on the table, Leclerc also needs to still be there to claim that win. That's what I think Leclerc needs to do. Okay, let's talk about Hamilton because, like I say, Leclerc doesn't need to do much. But here's a few pieces from Hamilton that I want to call out to you guys. So how can I explain this to you? I'm very much of the opinion that you give and dedicate everything to your profession to make it happen as best as possible for you. That means make sacrifices and pay tax. Nico Rosberg style. Pack away this, put away that, don't talk to him or her, sacrifice social media, sacrifice, cut, so that you've got like laser focus on what you need to do. That's what Nico did. He's like, yeah, I didn't sleep with my partner. We slept in separate rooms. I didn't see her for so long. Didn't see my kids, didn't see my family. Had to see a mental psychologist twice a week. Like, there is a tax to be paid for success. I refer you to this image, Lewis Hamilton posting, he's on top of the Vogue magazine here. See you at the Met. This is April 15. So this is 2 days ago, guys. And I'm not sure whether, like, Lewis has come out and said, I'm fully committed and fully focused to Ferrari. But here he is doing all this stuff on the side. So I'm not sure that this is going to serve him that well. Let me read out to you some of the stuff that he's been like, this whole media. Oh, look, I'm not that across it. For me, it's all about what you do with the steering wheel and the pedals. But he goes, I was working with Law Roach, who is a dear friend. And I was like, what if we created a table together where we invite a few up and coming black designers, have them dress some guests, and we show up together. It's all about creating space and opportunity. And also, I was going to buy the table myself. Of course, everyone looked great, but I felt that night opened up a dialogue about amplifying underrepresented voice and talent. With a focus on celebrating Black culture, Hamilton hopes this gala will send a message. If you think about where we are in the world, and particularly in the States, in terms of people pulling back on diversity, I think this Met Gala sends a really strong message that we must continue to celebrate and elevate Black history. The 2025 Met Gala will take place on the 5th of May. Personally, for me, I couldn't care less about this. I don't understand what it is. I mean, I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers, no more and no less. I don't understand what this is. What is this, a fashion thing? Like, who cares? Get in, like, you've got problems to resolve for. Charles Leclerc with half a front wing beat you in China. Like, hello, like, fucking, you've got to put pen to paper at this point if you're Lewis Hamilton. I'd like to see personally some tax to be paid, some sacrifice to be paid, and Lewis to go deeper into the rabbit hole that is becoming the greatest of all time. Like, we think Michael Schumacher would be mucking around with all this stuff. Now, this is not to say that you can't be you and do you, but you can't do everything. You can't be the best painter and the best Formula One driver. You're going to have to pick one. You can't be the best fashion designer, Tommy Hilfiger, and be the best Formula. Like, it's too competitive at the moment. You're racing against guys like Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc. Like, you're racing against good George Russell. You're racing against weapon drivers who have put all that away to be able to focus on the Formula One World Championship. Lewis going to have to ask himself this question: what does he want? How much does he want it? And how much is he willing to sacrifice for it? All right. Glad that section's over, because that mental mind, like Lewis, Lando, there's work to be done. As far as Oscar's concerned, I think he just needs to crack on and keep applying pressure to Lando, because eventually at one point, obviously Lando, that's going to spiral if Lando doesn't manage that. And, you know, I think that's just the way the championship is going to go. Let's bring up the track map now and crack on with the track characteristics, technical corners, driving techniques, car setup, and so on. So let me just set up this mic. Hang on. Okay. Is that better? What can I tell you about this track that you don't already know? All right. As far as technical corners are concerned, you could argue there's a chicane here. I'm not going to make that argument. For me, a chicane, yeah, it is a chicane. According to the definition, all right, first corner is a chicane. A tight left and right, blah, blah, blah. For me, it's not, because it's not characterized by its curbs. If you see this, it's more like a longish turn one, goes into a turn two like that. It's not characterized by the curbs that much. Maybe this one, yes. This one in the sim, we do take a little bit of this one, the right-hand one, the turn two. But the first entry curb is the heart and soul of the chicane for me. And I just feel like another example might be 9, and you guys know 9 and 10 in Melbourne, the fast left and right. Yeah, strictly speaking, it's a chicane, but it doesn't carry like some of the chicane principles that I think a chicane needs to have. So we do have a chicane here, but it's not about the curbs. So I'm not interested in it. A tight left and a tight right with some traction on the exit. It's more about how quickly you switch your hands, the traction on the exit, braking as late as possible down the end of the straight. Remember, picking a braking point down here is going to be tricky because you're up against this wire fence on the right-hand side. And it's going to be a bit of a challenge to try to find a braking point down here. So that's all. There's just mechanical grip settings. This is where the Red Bull's going to struggle, guys. So now we move into a really cool section of racetrack. This is the fast flowing section of track, which I really love, really enjoy. You see some of the speeds that we're reeling off here: 200, 175, 210, 245, 265, 250, 240, 255, 275, and 285. That's a weapon section of racetrack, guys. That's where I'm saying, like, the Red Bull will be not bad through there and through the rest of the track. The Red Bull's not going to be great here. It's not going to be great here either. The McLaren, don't worry about it. It's going to be a weapon everywhere. So I just wanted to highlight to you guys what the track characteristics are. It's mainly this. Is mainly this high and all this as well. Look at this, 295, 310, a lot of full throttle time and a lot of high speed downforce sort of things happening. So what you need to do here, there's a lot of on throttle and off throttle work. What does that mean? Well, you're turning flat through corners like turn 5 and 6, which means you've got your foot pinned and you're on what we call on throttle. And that's where you can manage your high speed differential, or if you have access to it, your on throttle differential through corners like turn 5 and turn 6. Similarly, 7 and 8 is flat. I believe in qualifying, the first lift in this section will be through turn 9. This is where potentially, like, you're not going to be touching the brakes really at this point. This is where potentially a lift and maybe a downshift, or maybe not even a downshift. Actually, if I just zoom in, yes, apparently there is a downshift here. We'll zoom in. You guys can see that. 6th gear and 7th gear. So yes, a lift and maybe a click of the downshift, maybe. That's what you're looking for into turn 9. I'll bring up a bit of telemetry later, but I just wanted to highlight to you guys that a lot of it is just lift, go, downshift and go, hard throttle application as well. Again, one of the sections where one of Rob Wilson's philosophy, always introduce the car to what's coming next. It's not going to hold true here, guys. You got to flick the car into the corner, and when you get on power, you've got to get on power quickly as well. Downforce is your friend here. Downforce is active. This is not progressive sort of situation, complete opposite to what we had in what we're going to have, in Miami, for example, where the low minimum speeds are really going to hurt you. For example, when you're accelerating out of the final corner at 120 kilometers, yeah, sure. Bleed the power on, open the steering wheel, do your short shifting, manage your throttle shape and everything, introduce the car to what's coming next. All right, fine, good on you. But here, it's have to be, things have got to happen quickly. The car is heavily loaded with downforce. You got to move on quickly. So I think this is where Max is going to excel. The McLaren is going to excel in the first sector as well. So the two technical corners on this track for me, a long corner of constant radius, number 1. Long corner. Remember, there's 3 types of long corners. So don't confuse that with increasing, decreasing radius. And this one's borderline hairpin long corner of constant radius as well. This is number 2. So at either end of this track, we've got long corner of constant radius. So what does that mean? Well, there is the opportunity to do the short corner or the tight line in both of these corners. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on just these 2 corners if I can, and show you guys like the options for what's possible. So let's draw the first one. We'll draw this one, 13. So, and I hate this part. I'm not a good drawer. How does this look? There's something, it's a bit like a horseshoe, hey. So remember what I said at the start of this video? In order to execute a short corner technique, firstly, you need a long corner. You're not short corner in any chicanes over here. You're not short corner in any of this over here either. This is like Suzuka S's settings. But you can short corner our friend over here, turn 13. How are you going to short corner that if you want to? And I would not recommend doing this, by the way. If you were going to do a short corner here, what you would do is brake deep into the corner, target a late apex, and then do the whole thing like that. It's almost like a wet line. But the whole reason that it's called a short corner is because your short rotation point up here. I'll highlight it for you in red just so you can see it. That's the cornering zone, like just through there. That's why it's called a short corner. You extend the straight coming in, you extend the straight coming out, you drop the minimum speed out of the car at the rotation point here. Tick, tick, tick. This is everything you've heard before from Rob about short corners. I don't like that approach for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I want to keep the downforce active. So I want to get into this corner a little bit earlier where like I keep the minimum speed. This 165 kilometers, I want that or more to keep the downforce active so that I can carry more speed through the corner. And when I go for the throttle on the exit, I can do so nice and hard as well. I'm not having traction issues on the exit. Remember with the short corner, yeah, fine, do that. But when you go for the throttle from this position, it's going to be tough. The minimum speed's dropped out of the car. So it's not going to be as convenient for you to just put the throttle down on the exit once the minimum speed's dropped out of the car. So what I would recommend, I'll just draw it in blue, is just kind of a traditional line. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention here is this corner is in cambered. Like there's a little bit of banking just through here. So if I just highlight like where I think the banking is, I think all the grip is through here. So I'd be encouraging getting into the corner early, doing a very shallow short corner, like just V'ing through that section there. So if I just draw it in red, come in and just do it like that, something like that. So that your short rotation period is there, but it's a lot closer to the apex. You don't need to go out so far, so wide. Again, because you got in camber, you got banking to work with here. You want to keep the minimum speed active. So that's what I'm looking for in this corner. Who's the one that's going to get into the corner early and then just leave a little bit of room to the apex and then absorb that room on the exit? That's what I'm looking for here, guys. I hope that makes sense. Can you guys let me know if that makes sense in the chat? Just as I redraw it, like again, guys, I just want to make sure you understand what I'm saying about the camber, what I'm saying about the short corner, why I don't think you should do it, blah, blah, blah. Can you guys let me know in the chat if you had a question there, if it makes sense? Because it's one of the only few technical corners on the track. I just want to make sure you guys understand it. Okay. Can a short corner wouldn't make sense for me at turn 13 since it's such a long radius and relatively high speed corner for its kind. Yeah, exactly. I want to keep the speed, I want to keep the speed active. I want to keep the downforce alive. I want to, get this car to have some sort of grip in the mid corner. If I do the short corner, all the downforce and speed falls out of it. That's not what I want. Does everyone else understand this? Sema, turn 13 doesn't look long, almost a hairpin. It is long. It is long. Yeah. It's long enough to be able to do a short corner. It's not a hairpin. Compare this to the Chinese final corner. The Chinese hairpin looks like this. Like literally it's like that. So that's where you're kind of stuck. You don't get this U shape here. So it is long enough, Sema, to be able to do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just ask yourself what would happen if it was wet. You'd be doing that, right? You'd be doing the short corner. Hawk, it makes sense to me. We've spoken about short corners before. Yeah, good. Okay, great. Susie Perry, question, have you ever driven an F1 car? No, I have not. You give me $5-10 million and I'll drive one. Kayla, you understand it? Oh, good. Makes sense. All right, sweet. Everybody's following here. Great. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say for turn 13. Now, as we zoom around the rest of the track, another thing I wanted to call out to you guys was the walls in some cases used to form the apex. So like Monaco's to back. I'm not sure if you guys know that corner, but the wall is the apex here. So you've got to be careful to not hit the apex / hit the wall, right? So that used to be a theme throughout the track. It might well still be a theme through some of these corners, but I'm going to show you guys later how this track has evolved and changed. In fact, why don't I show it now just as I'm talking about it? Where is it? It's over here. What I'm trying to say to you guys is the wall used to be the apex and now they've given you a little bit more room as well. All right, hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. So in the top, we've got 2021. In the bottom, we've got the changes that were made for 2024. You can see what I mean, how in the top, the wall was your apex. Hitting the wall meant hitting the apex. Hitting the apex meant hitting the wall. But what's happened is they've afforded you a little bit more room to be able to, I guess, so that you don't hit the apex / hit the wall. As I go through these images, you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at the way the wall has been pushed back to the right-hand side over here at turn 14. Again, moving the wall means you're hitting the apex, is not hitting the wall. So then you've got all this room over here now where you can do exactly what Max is doing, have half a car across the track. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this, guys. Let me know if you guys are a fan of these sort of changes. Personally, I'm not a big fan because keep it organic, keep it old school, keep it so that you've got to be precise. Now Max can just climb all over this flat curb. It's all track limits discussion. But for safety, maybe it needs to be done, I guess. Here's another example down at turn 19, 2021 versus 2024. Yeah, look, I understand why they need to be made from a safety point of view, but it does kind of soften the situation a little bit, doesn't it? You can see Max getting his right front here. This is turn 19, which is I mean, it's a easy flat section of racetrack, so that one's not that relevant. And turn 20, again, it's easy flat section of track. It just means that you can shortcut your way around the track, I guess. So I hope that makes sense. So as we're talking about, as we're moving through the track, 19 and 20 are here, 14 is here, and 16, was 16 the other one? Oh, 3 was the other one. Okay, this one here. So they've softened the track in these areas, guys. 3, 14, 19, and 20. They didn't do that this year, just for the avoidance of doubt. They did that last year, but, you know, thought I'd call it out as just being a change to the track that has driving implications. So just as we move down the back straight, a lot of it is about top speed. The Mercedes will be strong when we talk about top speed down here, but I don't think Mercedes have got this first sector. They're going to struggle. This is where McLaren's downforce is going to swallow them alive. And Mercedes will be strong down the back end because we've spoken about their top speed throughout this championship. It's been quite strong. So Mercedes got traction card and top speed card. McLaren have got downforce and front grip card at the moment. A really important call out to you guys that I want to highlight for turn 22. I'm going to make it big because it's really got to do with straight line braking. So let me give you guys a bit of a lesson on what straight line braking is. So you're turning through this curvature and then the track goes away pretty quickly like that. So this is turn 22 here. So you've got 2 options here. Number 1, I'm just going to draw it in red, doesn't mean it's wrong. You take the shortest distance to 22 and turn and brake through this curvature and then flick it into the left-hander like that. The problem is, guys, you're turning and braking at the same time here. You haven't got full braking capacity through turn 22. Now, the question is, do you need full braking capacity through turn 22? Is it a heavy braking zone? I would argue not. I would say that's not too bad, provided you push the brakes softly. What's the problem with turning and braking at the same time? Well, if I just draw the friction circle for you guys, every time you've got the steering wheel turned a little bit one way or another way, you're forgoing the total throttle and braking capacity. To get the most throttle and braking capacity, you need the steering wheel dead straight so you can reach the upper echelons of the friction circle. That's the problem with it. I don't think it's a big deal in this one. Turn 22 being like, what is it, 2 downshifts and then bang, away you go. You're not necessarily chasing full braking capacity, but this is going to be a key talking point for this weekend. I'm looking for the driver who also tries this line. And I'm a big fan of trial and error in this particular case. You've got this curved braking zone through turn 22, which is challenging. So what that means you could potentially do is a technique called straight line braking. So let's say you're on this red line here, you just drift ever so slightly wide, come out here, and now you've got this entry. You've got this nice, straight, square, parallel entry from which to push the brakes. And that, remember with the friction circle like we drew before, you've got the steering wheel nice and straight, bang, you've got the most braking capacity at the top there. So they're your options into turn 22. At this point, I'm not sure which is going to be the quickest. Both of them are risky because you're meeting with the wall here. You've got the right front up against the wall there. The green line affords you a little bit more braking capacity. The red line affords you a shorter distance around the track. It just depends on the car's characteristics, whether or not it's able to deal with the red's direction change, or if the car needs to be square and settled before the entry to the corner, then you would take the green line. But my insight for you guys is keep an eye out for who's doing the green, which I'm going to write for you here. It's called straight line braking. Straight line braking, because obvious reasons, you enter with the steering wheel straighter. Or whoever's taking the red line, which is going to be the shortest distance. That's the advantage of that one. It's the shortest overall distance. And I know I've made a meal out of drawing here, but do you guys follow me here? Can you guys give me a bit of feedback in the chat? Does this make sense? I'm just reading the chat. Yeah. So this straight line, like it's only this corner, right? there are no other corners on the track where you could execute a straight line braking technique. Baku, there's a lot of corners like that. There's a few. Once we get onto Baku, sorry, I'll call out to you guys. Susie, make sense? Even though I haven't driven a Formula One car, I hope it makes sense, Susie. Yeah, I'm an artist. Nice one. 100% makes sense. Max, I would put that drawing on my fridge. Okay, thank you. Unless you are Lance. Okay, everyone's telling it makes sense. Yes, yes. Okay, good. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight to you guys the straight line braking technique. Having the advantage of having the steering wheel straight, you've got more braking capacity. Otherwise, you're taking a shorter distance. So once you flick the car through turn 22, again, it's all full throttle DRS. And then you've got the final corner. So again, if we talk about the final corner, it is a long corner of constant radius, kind of, a little bit of a sibling. Let's just draw it how it comes in, and then kind of like that. It is longish, I guess. And yeah, I mean, same sort of thing, right? You can dive in early, claim a bit of entry speed. Like there's nothing to like, yeah, what do? Turn in early and claim a bit of entry speed. Or you can do the whole shorter corner thing, extend the straight coming in, extend the straight coming out, shorter rotation, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, the green line is going to have the higher minimum speed. For me, it's not here nor there. Honestly, it's not. The lap will not be won and lost here. As I say that, I do think about Max Verstappen losing the lap here, but he didn't need to do anything. He was up 0.2 of a second. Sorry. He was up 0.2 seconds. He was up 0.2 of a second on the entry into this final corner in 2021. He didn't need to do anything. He could have chosen the red line. He could have chosen the green line. As long as he didn't stick it in the wall on the exit, he would have been sweet. So I don't think there's necessarily lap time here, but obviously, like you saw from Max, there is risk here. So I just want you guys to know where I think the lap is going to be won and lost. It's here. It's all of that. Cool. Okay. There we go. Cool. All right. A few questions. What's going on? Indigo, bunting. One of my favorite examples of what happens when you turn the wheel, even a little bit while heavy braking, is Austria, Norris versus Max. Yes, exactly. Are you referring to the lockup that happened at turn 3 or 4 at the top of the hill there? I think so. Can you just elaborate for me a little bit? Sorry. As I'm doing this, it's hard for me to know what you guys are referring to. Give me the full context. I think you're referring to turn 3 or turn 4 at the top of the hill. When you turn the steering wheel, you lock up a little bit, right? Again, that your capacity has, yeah, bang. Okay. We're on the same page. Good. Okay, I wanted to show you guys an interesting piece of telemetry from Max Verstappen in qualifying last year around here. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to bring it up. And I'll show you guys the throttle work that's done or not done in the first sector. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that on the screen in front of you. This is the telemetry. I'm going to bring down this. Okay. So what I'm going to do, 2024 Jeddah, what is it? Saudi, Quali, Verstappen, and we're going to compare against Leclerc. So check this out. We'll pick Max's best lap and Leclerc's best lap. There was 0.3 between them. And I just want to zoom in on this section here. Okay, this is the really important part. This is the throttle that we're looking at here. I'm going to zoom in even more for you guys. Can you see the throttle row here in blue? This is the first sector. Max has his foot pinned 100% throttle. And you see these little lifts from Charles? Here, lift, Charles, lift again, and Max keeps it flat. That is where I think lap time is won and lost. And where is that exactly? That is the fast right-hander of turn 5. So that's, and you see the speed here. Max has just got more speed through there. That's really, for me, telling in terms of the whole first sector is about lift, downshift. Even you see the gear here, like Max keeps it in gear. Leclerc goes up and then down and then up and then down. Max just keeps it flat. I've seen this before, guys, in 2024. I'll show you where I've seen it before. I've seen it before in Austin, America. Max got pole in the sprint, I think. Verstappen versus Norris. Check this out. In the S's, I believe. Maybe it wasn't the sprint quali. Maybe it was the main quali. I think there was a section where Max kept his foot flat. Maybe it was the main quali. Give me a sec. Qualifying proper. Yeah, I think it was qualifying proper. Select fastest laps. Yeah, here it is. Look at this, guys. So this, I'll tell you exactly where this is. Yeah. It's the S's in Austin. Again, S's, fast, high speed, direction change, exactly the same sort of thing. There is a super chat, so I'll just quickly answer this. Barbara Martina, hello. I hope you're going well. Martin, any advices for Yuki on this circuit? Do you mean like from a mental, let me just talk to you properly. Do you mean from a mental mindset approach standpoint, or do you mean from a technical driving standpoint? If you're not sure, I'll give you both answers. From a mental mindset standpoint, I think, like we said before, you've got to understand the Red Bull strengths. It's the car you're driving, right? You've got to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the Red Bull. The strengths are exactly what I'm highlighting to you in the telemetry. The high speed, the downforce active, the car is strong. Max got pole in Suzuka. Go after the lap time, therefore, in that high speed. When the car's downforce drops out and the kind of turn 1 and 2, a few clumsy corners. Yeah, technical. Yeah, I'm talking technical. Okay, thanks, Barbara. In the low speed, when the downforce drops out of the car is very clumsy. Like it's just a little bit lazy to turn, no traction. It doesn't want to get out of the corner or rotate very well. That's where I think Yuki's just has to put up with the car. Max puts up with it. You just have to put up with it. In the high speed, you need to take advantage of the downforce of the Red Bull. And I'm going to show you, I showed you an example, that Max from 2024 in Jeddah against Leclerc. I'm going to show you another example now in Austin. This is 2024. This is Verstappen versus Norris. I'm zooming in on the first sector in Austin. It's full of S's. Your first exhibit A is the speed trace. Look how much more speed Max is carrying. The blue line with more speed than the orange line in the S's. As a result of this blue, this is Max's throttle, 100, 100. That's when they've got their foot flat. Look at this. Lando lifting out of the throttle in the S's. Lift, lift, lift. Meanwhile, Max has kept his foot flat. I'm just going to zoom into just that section there. You see that? Have a look at the throttle row here. See, Lando's got those little lifts of throttle, and while he's changing direction in the high speed, Max keeps his foot pinned. And that's, I hope I answered your question, Barbara. That's what I think Yuki needs to leverage. That principle that in the high speed with the downforce active, the car is actually capable. With enough bravery in the hands of Max, the car is actually capable. I know this is 2024, but Max got pole in Suzuka leveraging similar techniques. Through Degner 1 and Degner 2, Max was quick. Through turn 1 and turn 2, Max was quick. So it's taking advantage of that principle. When the downforce is active in the high speed, the Red Bull's not too bad. But in the low speed, that's when the car doesn't want to turn. So you just got to deal with that, right? So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight to you guys the telemetry there. Like in the S's, Max keeping his foot flat, getting favorable outcomes. And like I said, in Jeddah, I'll just clear these laps. We'll go back to Jeddah. In quali, Verstappen, Leclerc select fastest laps. The same thing happened, guys. The same thing here. All the throttle work. Max keeping his foot flat here, and then little lifts out of the throttle from Charles. The delta going in Max Verstappen's favor. He's got more speed through those corners as well. So just keep an eye out for that. I think Max will do his best from that standpoint, but he is fighting with one hand behind his back, unfortunately. Okay. So we're on to, how long we've been going? 45 minutes. Okay, who's going to go well in predictions? McLaren are going to go well because they're holding the downforce card and they're holding the front grip card. That's pretty much what the first sector is all about, those two cards. They're also holding the card that the car can work in the heat, in the 30, 33 degrees. They're gonna smash it this weekend. So McLaren will go well. Now Mercedes are holding two different cards. They're holding the top speed card and they're holding the traction card as well. So it'd be great in like Monza, for example, even though McLaren would be strong in like Lesmas 1, Lesmas 2 and Ascari. Mercedes down the straight and then traction out of turn 1, turn 2, slow speed chicane. That's the sort of track that would suit Mercedes. I don't think this one's going to suit them. Not to mention you got the 30-degree heat going on. I think it will be McLaren 1, 2 and George 3. As for Ferrari, I don't know, to be honest. I think Max will be in there again a little bit better as I just look at the track map next to me. I think as I'm looking at this section, I think Max will be okay here. I think when we get to Miami, Max is going to struggle massively in Miami because it's total opposite to this whole situation here. It's the low speed, low downforce, car won't rotate. All those issues are going to happen. So I think it's going to be McLaren, potentially Mercedes, potentially Max as well. No big stories here. I'm curious to see Miami though, so I'm keeping an eye on that one. Okay, compounds and strategy. This is a bit interesting, guys, because the guys have brought some soft compounds to this one. Let's bring it up. It'll be this image here. All right. The choice of compounds for the first 4 races this season were the same as last year's. Good job, Pirelli. But for round 5, Pirelli has taken a softer step with C3 as the hard, C4 as the medium, and C5 as the soft. So they've got some soft compounds here, right? And not to mention, we've got some big track temperatures, big ambient temperatures. So that's going to be potentially a 2-stop. This is in line with the aim shared with the FIA, F1 and the teams. To create more strategy choices for the race and therefore more exciting and unpredictable racing. Okay, fine. In the 4 previous editions of the Grand Prix, the one-stop has always dominated, both in terms of effectiveness and team preference, even when the safety car mixed things up a little bit more. Okay, cool. So what that means is we've got the softest compounds available in the hottest conditions. I just feel like it's going to favor McLaren so much more. What they're trying to do here is equalize a little bit in terms of strategy, but watch McLaren's going to be, they got so much front grip with that anti-dive, not because it doesn't transfer weight to the front of the car, but because it stops the pitch of the car moving forward. I explained this 2 live streams ago. I think it stops the pitch of the car coming forward. It keeps the aerodynamic platform stable. They can run the car lower, therefore. And then they're getting all this downforce as a result of supercharging the front wing, running it super close to the ground. So I think that's what we're going to be looking at here. But it's good to see that they're bringing the soft compounds. Hopefully it runs into a 2 or maybe a 3-stop as well. Just as I have a look at what happened last year. Yeah, a big 1-stop quite comfortably. They pitted on lap 7 and then they went all the way to the end on the hard compound tire. So that's kind of, you know, you don't want that to happen at this stage. Okay, we need to talk about turn 1, lap 1, because I think it is noteworthy and interesting. And then I'm going to take your questions. So we are on time. Okay, turn 1, lap 1. You guys can see the whiteboard. Here we go, turn 1. So the longer turn 1 is, let's cast our mind back to China, for example. You know, pitch into this big turn 1 like this. It's going to be tough to go around the outside, even though you get the inside for turn 2. Remember, this is China. I'm just giving you guys context here. It will be tough to make a move around the outside and get the inside for this tighter turn 2. However, this weekend in Jeddah, it's possible. I reckon you can potentially go around the outside and get the inside for turn 2. So what that looks like is everyone's going to kind of dive in here and get a little bit tightened up on the apex. It's going to be slow moving traffic through here. Therefore, you have the option in orange to break deeper later and then bang, you've got the inside now for this corner. That could be a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and say this is the only way. I never do that. I always kind of try, test, learn what's possible, what's not possible. Could it work? Could it not work? I think that's a possibility. I'd have to go back and review what happened the previous years. Also, there's a reasonable track width available at this point. I think it does come like the track width I'm talking about across here. there is the possibility. If you're in, say, obviously pole is going to be over here on the racing line. So you've got pole, second, third, maybe third. If you're in P3, there's the potential to follow turn one and outbrake Sorry, let me start again. If you're in P3, there's the potential to follow P1 and outbrake your friend over here in P2, 2 and 1. So that's what I'm looking for turn one lap on. I reckon there's the possibility to get down the outside here and sneak up the inside into turn 2. This is turn 2, this is turn 1. So it's a little bit different to like what we saw. Like the longer the corner goes on, the more work you've got to do to be able to pull this off. If you get up the inside of someone in here, like let's say you get a good start, whatever, you want to outbrake and go up the inside into turn 1, well, you need to make sure that you run them out of road. I think we saw Max do that actually on Lewis, didn't we, in 2021? He forced Lewis completely off the track, right, over at this point. So Max knows that, right? There is the possibility that you can hang on and claim the inside into turn 2. So I actually think it's going to be a very exciting turn 1 and turn 2, which we haven't had for a little while. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye for someone steaming around the outside into turn 1, claiming the inside for turn 2. That's my insight for turn 1, lap 1. In terms of safety car restarts, just while we're at it, and I'm thinking about a little bit of tactical driving. It's quite a long pitch straight. Do you want to, let's say you get a safety car, you've got 2 options. One, go around and send it down the pitch straight. That's your first option. Your second option, if I draw in orange, is to just cruise and weave and go at one point there. I would take the first option. I'd take the green option because once your car is rotated, you're the first person to open the steering wheel and go full throttle. P2 has to then rotate the car. He's going to be the second one to get on throttle. So I would tow the car down the pitch straight with a better exit. Keep an eye out for that if we get a safety car restart. Where is the lead driver going to go? Do they take the orange and cruise down the pitch straight and then go? I don't think that's the way to go. I think rotate the car quickly out of the final corner, send it down the pitch straight, and off you go. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Okay. All right. We got 8 minutes to go. I'm going to take a few questions. Barbara. So P2 should angle the car to the inside. P2 is already on the inside. Right? So remember the leader starts on the racing line. P2 is already on the inside. So P2 should angle the car to the inside. It's not necessary because they're already on the inside. There's not much you can do. You just want to brake nice and deep and like go side by side with P1. Does that make sense? Can you let me know if you like a clarifying question, if that makes sense or doesn't make sense? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Amini, the distance to turn 1 is a bit short, though you really need an amazing start to challenge. It is short, but it's still possible, I think, to do what I'm saying. I think keep an eye out for that. Trust me on that one. Barbara, you had a follow-up. I just saw it. Sounds like there will be a bottleneck at the start. Yes, I think so. That will be super close. Behind on the stream, my definition of a short corner is similar to a long corner, but with less distance traveled. That's more like Peter's definition. Unfortunately, that's great, but it doesn't align with Rob's. So you're going to have to pick. Do you want to reinvent the short corner, or do we respect those before us, how they've explained it, and keep that as convention and go from there? Up to you. Sema, P1 prediction. I'm guessing Lando. He'll still be P from Bahrain and will want redemption. He will. And, I hope he can keep with Oscar here. I think Oscar, honestly, just the nature of the track, high speed, flowing. I think Oscar will love it around him. He's done well here historically as well. So compared to Lando, I think he'll be okay. Look, it's tough to call between the McLarens at the moment. They're so close in qualifying, obviously apart from last weekend. So I think it'll be one of those two, obviously, but I'm not sure. Barbara, sorry, you mean outside. So you're saying Can P2 shoot across to the outside? Let me think about this for a second. You're in P2. You've got two options. Do you go down the inside and try to claim P1 and fight and compete for P1? Or do you follow in line with the racing line and carry on? I think it depends on your start. But if you get a good start, you'll want to go up the inside and attack P1. If you get a bad start, you'll also... No, look, I think stay. Barbara, stay. If you're P2, stay. Keep the inside. It's safer there. Yeah. You can break later and deeper and push the other person out. Remember the apex rule? You're first to the apex. You've got the rights to push out P2. This yellow one, like I'm saying, is going to be a risky, but it's possible. And that's all. If I was in P2, I'd stay on the inside. I'm taking that one. Williams versus Haas. Thoughts? I don't have thoughts. Like it's very hard for me to follow. Obviously, I know what they're doing, but it's very hard for me to know. Like the insight that I gave you guys with the Red Bull, I'm not sure I can give you the same level of insight because I haven't been following them as much. I don't know, but if I had to pick, who is better in Suzuka? Because it's more like that, like particularly the first sector. So I'd have to go back and check how they went in Suzuka. But I'd go with whoever had more speed in Suzuka. Well, that's pretty much what I'm doing with the top cars as well. Soggy Waffles, why is Lando struggling so much with his car? He wasn't the same as with this car. He wasn't the same with last year's MCL 38. Okay, this car has changed a lot. All the teams have changed the car. Ferrari went from pushrod front suspension to pull rod. It's a massive change. McLaren have really ramped up their anti-dive characteristics of the car, giving the car so much more front end, being able to run the car lower to the floor. I just personally think that Lando's, it's not his cup of tea. I think it suits Oscar a lot more. He's able to just carry the throttle into the corner a lot more, carry that speed in, whereas Lando's not that comfortable with it. Every time he does that, like I'll show you guys some examples right now. Every time he does that, the car doesn't like it. Check this out. This was in China. I'll show you guys. Give me a sec. All right, I'll bring your question down. So this is in China turn 1. We're talking about high speed. We're talking about Lando. We're talking about how the front is so powerful and he doesn't like it. Check this out. Turns into turn 1. Bang, the rear just snaps on him. He doesn't like it. He's not comfortable with this. Look at this. Massive snap at turn 1. Another one here, the fast right-hander. Turns in. Again. Like, Lando hates this. I just feel like that's confidence sapping as well. It's not just, correct. And, like, next time around, what do you do? Like, it's tough to deal with, right? So that was China this year. I'll show you guys another few examples from Bahrain testing. So this is in Bahrain testing. Same thing. Obviously, they're trying things. Lando turns into turn 4. Again, he's not happy with this car. And I'm not sure what they were trying exactly in Bahrain testing because day 2 looked good and day 3 it was very... But Oscar didn't seem to have this. I didn't see this in the hands of Oscar. It just must be the way he's combining the steering and the brake, which means that the car wants to swap ends. And look at that. That's twice now in that corner. Yeah. So that's why your question, Soggy Waffles, why is Lando struggling so much? It's the front grip. I don't think he's comfortable with it. No more, no less than that. Okay, a few more questions. Mr. Warthog, how do you think Mercedes will do this weekend? Look, I think they've got good top speed. Tick. This track is one of high full throttle time. Tick. They've got good traction. Not that important here. Maybe out of the final corner, but the rest, like, it's not that important. But they don't like the heat. So I think they're going to be behind Max, maybe. P4, P5? That's my guess. Okay, Max Flash Heart. Merc should be good here. Yeah, that'll be good. I think they'll be better in Miami. Tracks with long straights where you need good top speed, but then also these tight, painful, slow corners where you need good traction. It's a little bit colder, maybe. That's where I think Mercedes are gonna do a lot better. I think he's uncomfortable because Lando likes to drive the U style whilst Oscar likes to drive the V style. Yeah, Oscar might be slowing the car down a little bit more and then turning into the corner. And the car likes that a lot better. And we're talking about micro details at this point. Whereas Lando might be sweeping in with all of that speed. But then you go back to turn 1 in China. And I don't want to say your argument falls down, but your argument falls down because they're not on the brakes at this point. There's nothing to do with a U or a V. And I'm just thinking out loud here, trying to understand why Lando's struggling for this as well. But this has nothing to do with U and V, right? This is you turn in and that's it. So given that, you can almost rule the braking out. It's the way Lando introduces the car to what's coming next with the steering wheel. Maybe that's too quick. The steering rate, the rate at which Lando turns in overloads the rear, potentially. Maybe Oscar's turning in a little bit later or slower. So I don't know because I'm not in the team. I don't have all the data. I don't have all the information. I haven't spoken to the drivers. Still speculation and conjecture at this point, but yeah. All right, a few more questions. Okay, Soggy Waffle. So how could McLaren fix this? Is it related to the driver's confidence or more with the car setup? There are things you can do with the car setup, but we're talking about an inherent design philosophy of the front end of this McLaren with the anti-dive characteristics, right? So I explained it on another live stream, but the anti-dive means that the nose will not pitch down under braking. And you need to set your ride height to allow for that pitch under braking. So what McLaren have done is stop that pitch, stop the whole diving, and then they can run the car a lot closer to the ground with the front wing. That keeps the aerodynamic platform stable because you don't have the pitch, but also running the front wing nice and low to the ground supercharges the front wing with the ground effect, gives them a lot of downforce that way. So because it's in the suspension design, it will be tricky to dial it away. Not impossible. There are always things you can do in terms of front wing, in terms of the ride height or pressures, roll center, like camber casters. Like there's always something you can do in terms of toe or springs and dampers, roll bars and so on. There's always things you can do, but it's never going to be as powerful as the inherent design philosophy of the suspension. That's like the king. The rest is like icing on the top. So that's why. So what was your question? How can McLaren fix this? Is it related to the confidence? Or the car's setup? It's the car's fundamental characteristic of design. It's like that's the MCL 39. So I hope that helps. Yeah, the front end on the MCL is monstrous. That's what it is. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to make this the last question. Steven Sabino. Do you think Max had a car with... let me start again. Do you think if Max had a car with as much front end as the McLaren, that it would be 2023 all over again? The short and simple answer is yes. Max loves that because, again, he carries the throttle in, and if the front goes, he'll just slow his hands down and he'll love that. And he knows at which point to add the steering and which point to not add the steering and how to manage that front end. He'll take the positive from it and mask the negative of it. So yeah, I say yes. And Max said yes. He said you wouldn't see me in that car. Okay, so quick summary, guys. I'm looking for, in the first sector, I'm just going to give you guys a quick summary and then we'll wrap up. I'm looking for who's going to keep their foot flat for longer in the S's. Remember Austin? Remember last year against Leclerc? Verstappen, machine at this. Who's got the bravery through the S's? I'm looking for who's doing the straight line braking in turn 22. I'm looking to see top speed of the Mercedes. We're looking to see 2-stop because we've got the softest compounds. And we're also looking for turn 1, lap 1 to see if anyone makes a move around the outside. I think that's critical as well. Okay, guys, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for questions. Definitely subscribe to this channel moving forward. I'm going to put out more videos like this over the weekend, over this year. On your way out, please do give the video a thumbs up. Leave me a like and comment moving forward. Thank you for watching. I will see you across the weekend. Hope you enjoy the race weekend. Cheers.